MegaPodTastic.
Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Krazy Joe back at Water Tower Cinema. It is October, and my local and favorite movie theater is showing classic movies in general, but they've got one of my favorite horror movies, which is perfect for the Halloween season, Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I know a lot of my friends, like Cinema Sickness, are big Jason fans, and I respect those movies. I like those movies. But Jason just does not compare to Freddy. Freddy had so much personality. You know, like 8 different actors played the role of Jason. There's only been 2 Freddys. Only 2. And one of them only played the role once, and the other one played the role over 100 times because there was a TV series. So let's go. Let's check this out. I'll be back with my thoughts. Won't really be a review because this is an old movie. You've all probably seen it before. But just my thoughts on this classic movie. Before I do anything else, I need to put my mask on. Going to theater 2. There it is. So we are back from the theater. Just saw Nightmare on Elm Street back on the big screen at Water Tower Cinema. I don't know what I could say about Nightmare on Elm Street that I haven't said a million times before. Obviously, it's a classic movie going all the way back to 1984. This is just a great, great, great movie. And it's one of my favorite horror franchises of all times. So I'm not going to sit here and give you a review of Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a movie that dates back to 1984. You've probably all seen Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't need to hear me rattle on and on and on about Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm just going to talk about the franchise a little bit, my history with the franchise. Here I got the box set. This was, by the way, this was a UK box set. It eventually came out in the States. But when I got this, it wasn't available in the States. So I got this from the UK, and it was region-free, so it plays in my Blu-ray player, not a problem. Except the bonus disc. There was a bonus disc that would not play because it was on a region 2 DVD, and I couldn't play it. And I kept trying to play it, and I couldn't play it. So finally, I just took it out because I figured, why do I need it in this case? It doesn't play. It's just a worthless disc to me. So I took it out and put Freddy vs. Jason in there. So now I have all the Nightmare films, except the remake. I have all the Nightmare films in the one set. Because that Freddy vs. Jason kind of replaced the bonus disc that wouldn't play. And then they got me. They went and put out an American version of this, and the bonus disc will play if you have the American version. But I can't justify buying the whole set again just for the bonus disc, so... But there you go. It's got all this. So this set has all 8 films. And I'll tell you, Nightmare on Elm Street, I saw it, frankly, I saw it too young. Let's not kid ourselves here. I saw it too young. I was probably in the 3rd grade. No, that's not true. That's not true. 6th grade. I was in the 6th grade when I first saw a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Which is too young. It's too young. A kid that young shouldn't be watching this kind of movie. I wouldn't let my kids watch this kind of movie. But a little background on myself. Times have changed. At least I think times have changed. They've changed from my perspective. But the nerdier interests, like Star Trek and, I don't know, comic books, all those things that are kind of very, very popular right now. When I was in the 6th grade, they would you would be picked on just mercilessly if you went in and were like, oh, Star Trek The Next Generation's on tonight. I got to tape it. I got to be home to tape that and cut out the commercials, which it did every week. It didn't win you a lot of friends back in those days. Nerd culture is a lot more mainstream today, so I don't think a kid going home to watch Star Trek Discovery would have the same issues I had going home to watch Star Trek The Next Generation all these years later. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so, because nerdy things are cool now. So the kids in my class all were really into Freddy Krueger, and my dad wouldn't let me watch a movie like that. By the way, as I film this, it's my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. He's not with us anymore, but I miss him. Happy birthday, Dad. If you're listening, I love you, Dad. I love you very much. But my dad wouldn't let me watch a movie like this. But I used to get picked on so badly that my dad started to soften a little bit, because he kind of wanted me to fit in a little more. He knew that I got picked on. I didn't have a lot of friends. So all of my classmates were obsessed with Freddy Krueger. And we had HBO and Prism at the time. Prism was a local Philadelphia movie channel, sort of along the lines of HBO, but it was local in the Philly area. But we had HBO and we had Prism, and they were showing Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And my dad, when I was in the 6th grade, let me videotape them. They came on late at night, and watch them against his better judgment. He didn't feel this was appropriate for me, but he felt if I watched this, it would help me to fit in just a little bit more with my non-nerdy classmates who were obsessing over these movies in the schoolyard every day. And it's not like it was his idea. It's not like he was like, son, I want you to sit down and watch Nightmare on Elm Street. No. I went to him and asked him. I said, Dad, can I please see this movie? Because all the kids talk about it, and I don't know, I can't relate because I've never seen it, and they already pick on me because, I love Star Trek. So there's already a disconnect, and I'd like to have something that I can bond with them over. So could I please watch this movie? And my dad took pity on me, and he was like, all right, you can watch that movie. Because the number one thing you worry about with kids is the violence and everything, But I was always such a mild kid. My dad didn't really worry about it. He was like, he's a good kid. He's not going to get ideas in his head and go out and kill someone. He's very, very. I'd never been in a fist fight. I was just very calm. So my dad let me watch Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and 3. And I didn't expect these movies to be funny. That was the thing. I didn't expect them to be funny. But when Freddy went like, I got the body, or you got the body, I got the brain, and showed you his brain, I started cracking up. I'm like, I didn't know these movies were funny. I thought this was like scary stuff. But no, Freddy's funny. So I was not afraid. And I went to school. I started talking about Nightmare on Elm Street with the other kids. And sure enough, we actually bonded over something. We had something to talk about. So I became a hardcore fan of these movies. Because, number one, finally, I had something in common with my classmates. We could talk about the Nightmare on Elm Street movie. We're going to talk about Star Trek, but we could talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. And I became a legit fan. I saw the first one third. I saw the second one and the third one. The second one was the first one I saw. Third one was the second one I saw. Then finally, one of my classmates, because like I said, I saw them on cable. One of my classmates says, I got the first one on tape. You want to come over to my house and see it? Went over to his house. I saw part 1 at his house. Finally, I'd seen all 3. Then part 4 came out. My dad let me see it in the theater with my classmates. 3 or 4 of my classmates were going to the movies. You could actually, 4 or 5 6th graders could actually get into an R-rated Nightmare on Elm Street movie back in those days. This was 1988. Part 4 came out. As long as a parent bought the tickets, they would let 4 or 5 6th graders into a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I don't know if that would happen today, but in 1988 it happened. My dad dropped us off at the theater, and about 6 of us went in, watched Nightmare on Elm Street 4 in the theater. We were in the 6th grade. Maybe 7th by that point. possibly 7th by that point. But I've been a big fan ever since. Now, my personal favorite of these movies is the 7th one, New Nightmare. New Nightmare is the one that kind of breaks the fourth wall and all the actors play themselves. And the premise is that Freddy is crossing over from the dream world into the real world. That was absolutely my favorite because the creativity behind that was insane. And we'd never seen anything like that before. Now, we use the term meta. Oh, that's very meta. We got movies like, 1998, Being John Malkovich came out. We didn't have stuff like that back then. I mean, I guess the closest you had was Jerry Seinfeld played himself on Seinfeld. Very weak. But this kind of thing of blending the fiction and the reality wasn't nearly as common back then. So New Nightmare blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I have autographed posters out in the garage. I think I showed them to you in my movie poster video. If you go look at my movie poster collection video, you'll find them. I got movie posters out in the garage of Nightmare 1 and New Nightmare. And all 3 of them are signed by the same 3 people. Wes Craven, the late Wes Craven, signed both posters. Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy, and Robert Englund signed all 3 of those posters, and they're all framed and hanging in the garage. That's my favorite. My least favorite, absolute least favorite, Freddy's Dead. Freddy's Dead, practically unwatchable. It just turns it into the goofiest kind of, I don't know. Freddy's Dead, there's not much I could say about Freddy's Dead that's positive. I think the best ones are the odd-numbered films, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Those are my favorites, 1, 3, 5, and 7. If I have to pick 4 favorites, it's 1, 3, 5, and 7. 2 has become very, very interesting in recent years. I didn't actually originally like 2. I thought 2 was terrible. But now there's all this subtext about how it's like the gayest horror movie ever made, which I never picked up on before. And when you look at it and you see all the stuff that was going on under the surface in that movie that you may not have picked up on the first time you saw it, it's a fascinating movie. So I actually really like part 2 now. And part 4 is just a blast. I mean, it's just fun. It's just pure fun, part 4. So yeah, the only one I really would say anything negative about is part 6, Freddy's Dead. So yeah, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I know a lot of my friends are huge Jason Voorhees fans. I like Jason. I watch those movies. They got some nostalgia for me. But I just think Freddy is a more creative character, and he's got more personality. He's got personality to spare, man. The guy always made you laugh. He was funny. And the concept of dreams and what can happen in a dream was just so creative that I really think that in 8 movies, 9 if we count the remake, they still barely scratched the surface of what can be done with these characters and with this idea of dreams. I know when Christopher Nolan's Inception came out, people were going nuts over Inception, and my attitude was Freddy Krueger did it first. So, hats off to Wes Craven. Thank you for this wonderful character. Wes Craven had a hand in 3 of the movies in this set, part 1, part 3, and part 7. So thank you to Wes Craven. Thank you to everyone who helped make these movies, because you made a franchise of films that I love to this day. They hold nostalgia, but much more than nostalgia, they're just good movies. So thank you to the makers of these movies. Thank you to Water Tower Cinema for putting the first one back on the big screen for Halloween. Now, Water Tower hasn't announced their lineup for the rest of the Halloween season. There's still several weeks left of Halloween season. Might we get another Freddy movie? Maybe part 3, maybe part 4. I think part 4 is the most popular in terms of mass appeal. I could be wrong, but I think part 4 is the most popular. Maybe part 3, but I know part 4 grossed the most at the box office at the time, I believe. I didn't look any of this up. I'm just saying things now. Fact check me on that. I could be very, very, very wrong. But I hope Water Tower pulls another Freddy movie out between now and Halloween. That would be fun. All right, guys, go out, support your local theater if you can. If you can't get to the theater, if you're afraid to go to the theater, buy gift cards, but support your local theater. They need your help. And until next time, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander Adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.